Hey guys, welcome back. This is going to be our third video talking about lighting in church. Today we're going to be diving into Grand MA2. I feel like this is honestly the best software out there, both for the church environment and also in the touring world. It's pretty standard in the tour world. It's becoming a little more popular in churches. I think it's the best, honestly, just because there is so much versatility that you can do whatever you want really within it. But it also has the ability to make it super simple so that anybody can just walk in and control it. So that's really important, obviously, in a church, that any volunteer could easily just walk up and set the lights without actually having to have a full programming knowledge. So today we're going to go ahead and I'm going to walk you through that basic setup of how to set up essentially just a splash screen where anybody can walk in and just select what they want the stage to look like. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into it. So the first thing that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to patch the fixtures. So we're going to go into setup here. I've already created a new show. We can jump in there quick. I just named it Church Demo. It's really simple. You just hit New Show and name it. So I'm going to go into setup here, go to patch and fixture schedules, and now we set up layers. So this is the way that MA organizes it. You have layers and then fixtures are within those layers. So we're going to have 4 layers in here. We're going to have front light. I'm going to go ahead and then close this, so we can make all of our layers first. Then we're going to have our house light. Then we're going to have our stage wash. Stage wash. And finally, we are going to have our uplight. So we're going to be using 3 fixture types in here. Let's do our front light first. So we'll go here to new and we say add fixture. We're going to go to the library. So previously I'd been searching, just looking at the fixture I was going to use. For the front light, we're going to be using the Ovation 910 FC. Ovation 910 FC. Alright, and which patch here we'll use just the 10. So that's going to have your dimmer and your color stuff, and then a few other things in there. The other option is we could go with just a simple 5-channel with the colors and then a virtual dimmer, but we'll go here so you have the shutter as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say import. So now I have my fixture type right up here, and the name is going to be right here. So we're going to call this front light. Now, how many do I need? We're going to have 10 of these in this rig, and our fixture ID, we're going to start at 1. Front light, we'll go ahead and start there. And our patch break, we'll go ahead and we will start that at 1.10, we'll say. Okay, so now we're going to say apply. And you can see now that has populated them all in here, and they're patched properly. So now you need to make sure your fixtures match this, and now you also have your fixture IDs. So let's go into our house light. We'll go ahead and we'll say add fixture. And this is just going to be dimmers. Alright, so we're going to go in here, say dimmers. We're going to call those house light. And then we're going to say, how many of those do we have? Well, we're going to have 8 of those. And fixture ID is 0. That doesn't apply here. And channel ID is 1. So we're going to call that 1.001. Okay, so now we're going to say apply. And perfect. So now we have our house lights patched. Now our stage wash, this is going to be 5 of our Ovation, not Ovation, the Par Quad 7s. So we're going to say Par Quad 7. And we're going to use just the 4-channel, I believe. Now we'll use the 6-channel. So we'll go ahead and import the 6-channel here. We're going to have 5 of those on this part of the rig, and we're going to call that to be 21. I believe. Actually, we can call that 11. So the way that I like to break up my fixture IDs, we can just say apply. The way I like to break up my fixture IDs is so that you start either on the 10 or the 100. So if I'm looking for, say, my stage wash, I can say fixture 11 through 19. And I know that's going to be everything within that block. Right now my front light is 1 through 10. So I can just break it down that way, and it's an easy way to grab them. Alright guys, so finally we're going to patch our up lights. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to say add fixture. We're going to have it already right here since we've used it before. and we'll call this our uplight. And now we used 5 of our 12 for our stage wash. That's going to leave us with 7, and we're going to call that patched at 21 for fixture ID, and the patch break automatically is updated, as you can see. So we can say apply, and now they're all in there. So now I know my front light is 1 through 10, my stage wash is 11 through 15, and my uplight is 21 through 27. My house light is going to be channel 1 through 8. So what I'm going to be able to do now, then close out of here, and I'm going to say yes. I want to save what is done. So then we come out here. First thing what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to make groups. It makes it a lot easier to work with. So first thing we're going to do is fixture 1 through 10, and say please. Then we're going to say store right here, and that's going to be called our front light. And to update that name, you simply just start typing as long as it has the white box around it. Alright, so now we're going to clear out here. And you can see now I have control up here over the different aspects. So next I'm going to say fixture 11 through 19 because I can't remember how high it goes, but I know that'll get them all. And I'm going to say store and throw them right here. And those are going to be my stage wash. Alright, and finally we're going to get our last fixtures here. We're going to say fixture 21 through 29. I'm going to say please, and I'm going to store them right here, and those are going to be my uplights. Now, the only thing that we have left is going to be our house light. So that's going to be channel, which is already selected here, channel, and that's going to be 1 through 8, please, store, and we're going to call that house light. Now, I could break these down a bit more, so my front light is specific to where it is pointed on the stage, but for this example, we're just going to leave it very basic, alright? So I've got my 4 fixture types right here, or I have 4 areas, I should say. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back into setup, and we're going to set up a couple of users. So I'm going to come in here to user profile setup. It automatically comes with admin and guest on there, and a bunch of user profiles, and I also have one that I've made for a couple that I've made for myself. So I'm going to go in here to add new, and I'm going to say add user. This new user is going to be our program, and we're going to add another one, and we're going to call that one splash screen. Now the rights of the program, that's going to be administrative. They can do whatever they want in program. For the splash screen, I'm going to have it where they can only do playback. Now I'm going to set a password here, and we'll just call it 1234 for now, just so it's easy to remember. And that's going to, that way that one is password protected. So now I'm going to go to program. I'm going to say login. It's going to ask me for my password 1234, and there we go. Now we're logged in under program. You can see right here under user. So now we're going to jump in here. We're going to jump into another screen, screen 2. This is your typical splash screen when you're working with command wing. So first thing that we're going to do is pull in our groups. Alright, we only need that. And then we're going to put in presets. We're going to have our color presets, which are going to be right here. And, sorry, let me grab that there. And then we're going to have our dimmer presets. I don't know if we'll use them that much, but that way we have them available. And that pretty well covers all of the parameters that we have access to. There are shutter, but we aren't really going to mess with that. They're going to default to open. The only thing that you use them for is like strobing and stuff like that. With this size rig, we probably aren't going to be worried about that. So, next I want to put in a group of sequences. So that's going to be pools and sequences. So we're going to pull those in here. Alright guys, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put in a layout pool here. So we have access to our different layouts. And finally, we are going to put in a layout, which is going to be, I believe, under other here, layout view. So that gives us this big blank space where we can put whatever in there. Another thing that I'm going to do actually is here I'm going to add a space for macros. That's going to be under pools again and macros. That's kind of going to be what's going to make this system work. So first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my front light, my stage wash and my uplights, and my house light. And so first I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do my dimmer stuff, and I'm going to say 0. So let's say store that. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn on my shortcuts. The PC version has keyboard shortcuts so you can easily get around. I'm going to say S for store. And then I'm going to just click right here, and it's going to store 0%. I want to store a 25. I'll say store. Let's grab a 50. And we'll grab a 100. And so we're going to store those in there. Now I can go ahead and clear everything out, and I can grab them and I can easily just apply them back to there, and it'll take them to 25%. You can easily go ahead and rename those again just by typing in. We're going to say 0%. I just don't like to have that hash mark after there. The reason it puts it in is that means it's a default that MA pulled in the name for because it recognized it. And you'll see it'll do that with the colors as well. So now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll clear out again. And I'm going to grab my colored lights. So that's going to be those, and we're going to jump through and we're going to make our colors quick. An easy way to do this actually, we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring in a color picker. And I can easily just say, I want those at red. I'm going to store that as red. And then we're going to grab an orange. And we'll say a yellow. We're going to do a cyan. Or a sea green, I guess as they called it. I'm going to do a blue. We'll do a purple. Magenta. And a hot pink. And then we'll also do a white. So now I can clear out. As you can see, it pulled on those hashes again. I'm not going to worry about it too much, just for time's sake. So we'll jump back over here and we'll bring back in our layout view. And now what I want to do quick is I want to store this as a look. So I'm going to call this setup. And we're going to store that. So now this is always right here. I can always jump back to this. So next thing I want to do is I want to make a few layouts. So I'm going to store 1, 2, 3. The first one here is going to be called splash screen. So this is essentially going to be what everything is applied to on that base layer, the one where you can just come in and easily hit the buttons and it'll all come up. And then we'll call this one stage view. And actually we don't need that one, but we'll just keep it there for now. So what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to go into setup. I'm going to grab here and I'm going to call grid 0. So that way there's no grid on the background there, just looks a little bit nicer when you do it that way. So now we've got our splash screen and our stage view. Our stage view, we're going to grab our front light, we're going to say 2, sorry, my bad, forgot to turn back on my key commands. So we're going to store in our front light, and there's our front light. We're going to go to, we're in setup, and we're going to move them. Drag you guys and put you guys right over here. So next, clear that out. We're going to grab our stage washes, we're going to store, and we're going to put them in here, and we're going to merge that. So those we'll say are back there. Our uplights we'll say store, merge. These are going to be all the way across the back. And then our house lights, we aren't actually going to put that in there because this is just our stage view. Alright guys, so now that we have our layout views all set up, or this first one at least, we can easily go through and we can just select them that way, which is really nice. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set this up so that we can use just a bunch of buttons to easily go to whatever color we want. So I'm going to show you guys just with the stage wash here, but I'll go through and in the background I'll go ahead and I'll make the rest of them, and then I can show you how to put this all together. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to need another look here. I'm going to delete this window, and we're going to bring in here, and let me see if I can remember which one it is. It is going to be, I believe, sequence content. Yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my stage wash and I'm going to say which is going to put it at 100%. I could also use my preset. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say red. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to store this on this executor right here. So that jumps in there. And now if I jump back out of here, it's right in here. So let me scroll back down here. And apparently this is not the correct window. Sequence executed. There we go. That's the one that we're looking for. So we're going to call this red. And we're going to put a fade time of 3. Now before we keep going here, I want to store this as another look. Sequences. And I want to jump out of here. And I want to do a quick setup thing. We're going to go in here to settings. Defaults, I believe. Sequence defaults, fade, default of 3 seconds. So that way, as soon as we store, it's going to automatically put a 3-second fade. It's usually a nice clean look there. So now we're going to say stage wash, orange, and we're going to say store. I'm just going to say enter, which is the same as saying store it to that executor, and we're going to say create a second queue. I'm going to call that one orange. And we're going to keep jumping on down the line here, calling it yellow for each of our colors here. And I'm going to just call this one cyan, because that's essentially what it is. We're going to store. We're going to call that one blue. We're going to say store enter. We're going to call that one purple, just for ease. Magenta. Pink. And finally white. And then I'm just going to come up here and I'm going to call this one stage wash colors. Alright, so now we jump back out of here. We can clear everything out, and if I say go, which is a space bar on here, it's go button on the wing, otherwise you can come up here and say go, which is underneath my face right now. But I say go, and it'll bring up there. If I jump back over here, you can see they're on at red. If I say go again, they're going to fade to orange. And this way, I can go ahead and I can jump in and I can say go to, trying to remember what the command is for that one. Go to Alt-G on the keyboard here, otherwise go to right on there. So we say go to, and I'm going to say Q. And let's see here. Sorry, go to Q, and let's say 8. So we're going to go to pink, and we go back over here, and it'll fade to pink without going through all those other colors. And so that's how it's going to work. The macro is going to say go to this one for this color, this one for this one. And essentially you're just going to be pushing a bunch of macros, but they'll look a little bit nicer. So I'm going to take a minute here, and I'm going to go through, and I'm going to make these kind of cue lists for our other fixtures. And for our intensities, for our front light and our house light, I'll do intensities as well, separate ones. Alright guys, so I just took a few minutes and I went ahead and I built these other cue lists for my uplight colors, front light color, front light intensity, house light intensity, same as I did right here. I also added in another color preset for warm white. Obviously that's what you're going to want for your front light, but also just so that we'd have it in all the others. So I'm going to jump down here. I made another view called build macros. I have 10 macros right here that I'm ready to build. And that's going to apply to each of these. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go add. And we're going to say select exec 1.1. So that's going to grab the executor that's applying to these colors or these fixtures. I'm going to say add again. I'm going to say go to Q1. Now when I close this out, if I run this macro by clicking on it, you can see it's going to go ahead and it's going to run Q1. So I'm going to keep doing that here, and I'll jump out here for a second, and when I get back, I'll have all these 10 done, and you'll be able to see that as I select each of those, it'll jump to whatever queue in here that I want. Alright guys, so I went through and I built the rest of these macros. As you can see, simple, like I said, just select the executor and then go to the queue. So if I apply to any of these, you can see I hit magenta wash, and that applies the magenta look there. And if I jump back up here, you can actually see that on the stage wash. And so if I jump to any of them, you can see it runs the yellow, and they go to yellow. So any of those will work like that. And so it's really simple. Like I said, Now I'm going to go through, I'm going to make it for the rest of my sequences that I talked about up here, my up light, my front light, and my house light. So I'll go ahead and I'll make all those macros, then we'll jump in and I'll show you how to put these onto a layout view so that you can use them in your splash screen. Alright guys, so I got the rest of my macros built over here. So I made a layout view look, and you can see we have our stage view that we used to have. Now we're on our splash screen view. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign all these macros over here so they're really easy just to grab. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to say assign macro 1 through 10. I'm going to click right here. I'm going to select those. We're going to go into setup, grab these guys, and we're going to say arrange. I want them in a rectangle, and I want 2 rows and 5 columns. Perfect, and I'm going to say apply. So now that's going to put them all in just like that. Alright, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to say clear out here. Then we're going to say assign macro. We're going to say 11 through 20. And we're going to put them right here. Select all of those guys. Same thing here. We're going to set up. We're going to put them in a rectangle. And we're going to say 5 by 2. And we're going to say apply. So now we're going to have, right there is our wash, stage wash. This is going to be our uplighting. And next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to say assign macro. So now we're at 21 through 24, and we're going to put those guys right here. Now if you notice, I only made 4 color macros for our front light because typically your front light is going to stay on warm white. But that way you have a little bit of variability in here. And then finally we're going to say assign macro 25 through 28 right here. Grab those guys and line them up just a little bit more. And finally assign macro 29 through 32. And we're going to put those guys right there. So now we've got all of our macros. So I can jump out of setup, and I've got all these, and I can run these different things. And if you look down here in the corner, you can see it's changing which one, and it's making our look. And if I jump up here, or actually stay here, and I can jump to my stage view, you can see just like that. So my splash screen, if I say my front light is going to be blue and at 25%, jump back to my stage view, you can see there it is. And those are all on 3-second phase. So now I'm just going to turn off all my executors. And now we're going to jump back into our splash screen. So now we need to label these things first of all. So we're going to go into setup. We're going to say text. And I want to put it in a text box right in here. And this is going to be stage wash. And please. Alright. So that's my stage wash. We're going to do the same thing right here. And we're going to call that uplight. Please. We're going to put one right here for front color. I'm going to put one right here for front intensity. And one right here for house intensity. Please. Now, obviously, these aren't quite big enough, so we're going to have to adjust that there. Do that, we're just going to go in here, we're going to say size, and we're going to make this a little bit bigger there. We'll say 3, which will make it plenty large to fit everything in there that we need. And now we can just line these up so they look nicely. Alright guys, so I went ahead, got this all cleaned up, made it look nice. Now we need to make 3 more here. Okay, so we're going to have our shutdown macro. This is going to off executors 1 through. So that's going to turn off all of the executors. And this is going to clear all. And that'll just get everything out of the programmer. So that way there shouldn't be anything outputting on stage at that point. Now we're going to call this one program, already labeled there. And it's simply going to be login, in parentheses, program. So now if I run this, what it's going to do is ask for my password so that I can log in programmer. And then finally, we're going to add here, and we're going to say login splash screen, because I believe that's what I called it. Let me jump out here for a second. We can jump over here, go to setup and users again, and yep, we called it splash screen. So what I'm able to do here, so if I bring this up, let's call this splash screen. Okay, so we click here, it's going to log in, and now what you don't see, nothing really changed here, but I can no longer store anything. It's going to tell me that I don't have the ability to do that. I'm going to say OK. So but now I go programmer 1 2 3 4, and now I can store again. So that's why this is going to work. This is going to make sure that any volunteer that comes in, they're going to be really simple to go ahead and change stuff, make looks, but they aren't going to be able to accidentally overwrite anything or anything like that. They're just going to be able to push buttons to change the colors and the intensities. So what we're going to do is we're going to assign macro 35 through 36 right over here. So these are our shutdown. Whoops. Let me select these guys. Sorry, going to setup. There we go. Select these guys, and we're going to make these to hang out right over here. Okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually jump out of here. We're going to go into our setup, and what we need to do is actually we need to, for a minute here, make our splash screen an admin. Okay? Now we're going to go ahead and we'll log in. One other thing that we need to do with that is we need to go over here, and we're going to make that a different user. So to do that, I'm actually going to need to log in over here. Then I can go ahead and get into there. So we're going to call that default 2. I know I saw that in here somewhere. Let's just call it user 1 for now, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close out of there. We'll log back into that. Okay, so we're in splash screen. We go back here. I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of all of this. Alright guys, so here we are. What we're going to do is we're just going to do a layout view. And we are going to call this one, yep, splash screen 1. So that's always going to fall there. Zoom to fit. Alright. And now we're going to store that right there as our splash. Alright guys, now since that's all set up, the last thing that we need to do here is go into setup. We're going to go into users again. We're going to log back into programmer, type in our password here, and then finally we're going to give them only playback rights. Alright, so then we can close this and get out of here. And now if we go to splash screen, automatically pops it up at this screen. If they try to come over here and say store something or anything, they can't do that. All they can do is use the programmer, but they don't have any access to groups unless they know specifically. If they say fixture 1 through 3, then they could go ahead and they could work with the programmer. But at that point, you probably know enough of what you're doing. You don't have to worry about it. You can actually just go into programmer, type in your password, and then you have all access to everything in here. But what this does is, like I said, just gives you a really simple way to work on just the splash screen. At this point now, I can just say I want a red stage wash. Red stage wash. I want a warm white uplight. I want my front light to be warm white, and I want it to be at 100. I want my house light to be at 50. So there you go, guys. Really simple there. If I jump back into programmer now, what you can see is when I come up here to stage view, this is now all applicable to that. Just really simple to do. Running through here. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Got a little bit long, sorry about that. But this is a full show now set up, ready to run for any volunteers to walk in and be able to just hit those buttons really simply and make whatever look. Now you can make it more fancy if you want. You could put in, blocks so that these are actually the color that they would be, stuff like that. And maybe in a future video I'll work on that. But hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm looking forward to the next video. We're going to be getting a little more in depth into MA2. So for those people who understand the programming, some of the cool stuff that they can do once they get back into this side of the programmer. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Look forward to seeing you guys next time.